everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to talk about our menstrual cycles as women who have ADHD, what to look for during your cycle as far as ADHD symptoms, a connection between dopamine and estrogen, perimenopause, and full-blown menopause. You want to stick around for this video because you are going to learn when are your optimal times in the month to be productive, as well as times where you might be a little bit more sluggish. For anyone who doesn't know me, hello, my name is Sarah. I'm an ADHD mindset coach, and I come out with videos every single week on everything ADHD and the isms that go with having ADHD. All right, let's get right into it. Let's begin with starting with our menstrual cycle. During phase 1, which is days 1 through 5, you can expect your ADHD symptoms to be fairly stable during this phase as your estrogen and progesterone levels are low. The next phase is called the follicular phase, and that is days 6 through 14. During this phase, estrogen levels are expected to rise, which actually makes your ADHD symptoms less than when you are in other phases of your menstrual cycle. And this is because estrogen can increase dopamine receptor sensitivity, potentially leading to us having enhanced dopamine levels. This is where you shine as an ADHDer when it comes to productivity, mood, ambition, are days 1 through 14 in your cycle. Another thing that happens on day 14 is this is when we are expected to be ovulating. Estrogen is thought to peak during your ovulation time, which can further improve cognitive function and possibly reduce impulsivity, as well as hyperactivity in some women who have ADHD. Now, the days from day 15 on to day 28, which is essentially the end of your menstrual cycle, are called the luteal phase. And this is where your estrogen starts to rise and your progesterone starts to decrease. Some women may notice an increase in ADHD symptoms like emotional dysregulation, brain fog, and difficulties concentrating as a whole. So what does this tell us about our cycle? It tells us that from day 1 through 16, and that's from the day that your period starts on day 1, you are on your A game hormonally as an ADHDer, whereas after day 16 through till the end of your cycle, when your period is about to start again, your estrogen may be a little bit lower, which is going to impede dopamine production. So let's further expand on dopamine and estrogen. Estrogen is known to influence dopamine activity in the brain. Estrogen can modulate the expression and function of dopamine receptors, affecting dopamine transmission and reception. During the follicular phase, when estrogen levels are higher, dopamine receptors sensitivity may increase, potentially leading to improved ADHD symptom management. Conversely, during the latter phase, when estrogen decreases and progesterone rises, dopamine sensitivity may decrease, possibly contributing to ADHD symptom severity. So what can we do during this phase, during this last 2 weeks of our cycle? We can make sure that we are prioritizing getting a good sleep, eating dopamine-rich foods, exercising, drinking enough water, and also tracking our periods. Simply having the awareness of where we are at with our menstrual cycle can absolutely help us to be more mindful during this time and make sure that our emotional load isn't as heavy if we can move things around on our schedule. You may be able to talk to your doctor to have your medication adjusted during the luteal part of your menstrual cycle. But again, I am not a healthcare professional, and my disclaimer is that it would be highly negligent to adjust your medication without your doctor okaying it as well as monitoring it. And all doctors may not be open to this, but it's something that you can inquire about if you feel like it might help. All right, now that I've told the youngins what they can do, let's talk about my phase of life. During the time of making this video, I am 47 years old and I have been in perimenopause for sure for the past year, if not a little bit longer. So what can someone in my phase of life, perimenopause, which means my periods are very irregular, they are closer together, and my bleeding has gotten a lot heavier during this stage of life. The first thing to consider is, where are your iron levels at? Again, this is something that you need to talk to with your doctor, but there is a correlation between heavy periods and becoming iron deficient or even anemic, which can worsen your ADHD symptoms. I will link an article from Attitude magazine below talking about iron levels and ADHD. So what can we expect during perimenopause? Definitely hormonal fluctuations that don't seem to make sense. We don't have that 28-day cycle anymore necessarily to follow to track our ADHD symptoms. Perimenopause can last several years as well, which is really important to note. And this is where our estrogen levels really fluctuate, they'll begin to decline. So you can see how perimenopause, based on the first half of this video, really talks about how estrogen and dopamine really go hand in hand. So that fluctuation in estrogen will impact the amount of dopamine that we can create naturally. And because there is this unpredictable fluctuation, this is where in my season of life, my ADHD really said, oh, hello, I'm here and I'm really going to just shake things up for you. So the symptoms that happen in the last 2 weeks of someone who is just on their cycle and not in perimenopause yet are exacerbated during perimenopause, plus very unpredictable. So concentration can be affected. Definitely mood. It's like a roller coaster sometimes. And as ADHDers, we already struggle with emotional dysregulation. Things like brain fog, forgetfulness, and also not being able to get a good night's sleep. And we produce a ton of dopamine while we're sleeping. So something that my doctor recommended to me, and again, disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, please talk to your doctor, because my periods were so irregular and also so heavy, is I opted to get an IUD with progesterone in it to control how heavy my bleeding was, to lighten my menstrual cycle. As well, the progesterone is there in the IUD so that when I am in full-blown menopause, which is what we're going to talk about next, I only will have to take estrogen as a hormone replacement therapy that usually you need to take together when you're opting for HRT options. And this brings us into talking about full-blown menopause. Full-blown menopause is considered after 1 full year of not having a menstrual cycle. Women who are in full-blown menopause have reported that their ADHD symptoms during this time seem to stabilize. And some women may opt for HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. Now, HRT can influence dopamine production and may also impact ADHD symptoms, either positively or negatively, depending on the person. So again, talking to a healthcare professional is something that is always recommended, especially when you're listening to people on channels like YouTube and people like myself who do not hold any kind of medical degree. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope that you like this video. Please like this video and share it with an ADHDer who you love. By sharing this video, more people in the algorithm will know what to expect when they are a woman and they have ADHD and they're trying to manage their ADHD symptoms during their cycle. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you next week in the next video.